What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're going to be back here in Project Cars 2 today, and we're going to be taking out the 1971 Mercedes 300 SEL, also known as the Red Pig, and racing it around Silverstone Classic GP. We are going to be in a grid of 17 identical cars because if I go to the same class of car for this one, the BMWs tend to be underpowered on this circuit. I do have the AI difficulty up to 100, and even then the BMWs struggle to keep up. So I figured we just go with a one make series race here. As you can see, we're going to be doing 5 laps here for this race, so let's go ahead and jump in, get this started. I thought this would just be a really fun idea for a race. These cars are fairly decent handling, especially considering they're big 4-door sedans, but at the same time they have a ton of power and have a really high top speed for what they are, especially for being from the 70s. So on a track like Silverstone, they can really just leave behind cars that don't have the power to keep up like the BMW.
Remember mate, you need to focus on those lights and nail the stars. Let's stay safe and see if we can take some of these guys off the grid.
So as you can see, this car is just a little sluggish off the line unless you want to just really hammer it and light the rear tires up. But once it does get moving, oh, got punted from behind by the AI there. Even at higher difficulties in this game, the AI do seem to have a little trouble getting sorted out for turn 1. They do tend to kind of straighten out a little bit as the race goes along.
On the right side.
But as I was saying, after you get this car moving, it's just an absolute monster. I cannot believe how quick this thing can accelerate for being a big 4-door sedan.
All clear.
And you can see it on a circuit like Silverstone Classic, there's really just a lot of room for this car to be able to kind of stretch its legs and really show the kind of speed it's capable of.
Half length back.
A little sideways there.
Left side.
Should have downshifted before I was in the middle of the turn, but just trying to carry a little extra speed.
All clear.
As you can see though, this car will not hesitate to step out on you if you give it a little too much steering angle or a little too much throttle in the corners. Definitely makes it a lot of fun to drive. I did do some tweaking to the setup. I used the stable setup as the base, and then from there I dropped my tire pressures, and I also run my bump stops a little bit lower so it can absorb the bumps a little better without bottoming out and kind of throwing the car around. On circuits like Silverstone Classic and really quite a majority of the circuits here in this game, this car really benefits from having that bump stop height reduced. Really made a huge difference in how stable this car is when it drives. You can see this thing can really just take some crazy speeds through some of these corners. Definitely is a car that does like to have a little throttle to help it steer around corners. You can see with just how heavy the car is, the nose will kind of push through the corner if you try to take any serious speed, so you got to give it just a little throttle to get that rear end to step around and get you all the way rotated.
Okay, you're clear.
Oh, I should probably also mention I do run my brake pressures. I want to say I have it at about 84% or so, and I brought the balance to about 53 front. I think I might have took a couple markers out there. It's cutting it really close to that inner barrier. I gotta say, this is definitely been one of my favorite cars to drive here in Project Cars 2 lately. The force feedback is just so good in this thing. It's actually really easy to slide around corners and do a little drifting even if you wanted to and gave enough time to the setup and practicing driving it. It just feels really, really good. It's really easy to control. Tagged that guy a little bit there in the door, he dropped off, but it's alright, just AI, right? Been trying to drive as clean as I can with them, but sometimes you can't help a little bump. But as I was saying, this just feels so good and so easy to drive and kind of really overdrive the car in corners and slide the rear end out sometimes.
Okay, mate, let's see if we can get him on this lap. Try to force an error. He's under big pressure now. Come on, you can take him.
You can kind of see what I mean there. I gave it just a little throttle to get that rear end to come around just a little faster, and you can carry a lot of speed through the corners in this car like that.
Fastest second sector. Great driving.
If you haven't really gave this car a whole lot of thought here in Project Cars 2, I highly recommend you do give it a shot. I don't recommend trying to drive it in the stock setup. It's a little awkward with the base setups for some reason. Really, I feel like all the cars in this game are. I usually do about the same thing to all of them. I drop tire pressures and drop my bump stop height just a little bit. Maybe just tweak gearing a little bit depending on the track. But they really don't need a lot usually. It mostly just has to do with the tires not wanting to heat up properly and the car's not having grip because of it. And a lot of cars do also have a really, really bad brake bias setup. And the way I have my pedal dead zone set up for my brake pedal and the rubber bumper mod that you can get for it from Thrustmaster, I really don't like running anything in almost any of the cars over about 85% for brake pressure because they just tend to lock up too easily before I can really give much force to the pedal, and it makes the cars just a lot more difficult to drive. The road feel in this car is just amazing too. That's one of the reasons it's one of my favorites to drive here in Project Cars. You can really feel the bumps of the road and you can feel the weight of the car as it shifts around over them. And you can really tell this is a big old heavy sedan too. It's got fairly heavy steering compared to a lot of the cars in this game. You can see it going through that little chicane section there, getting on the throttle, you can really kind of point the car where you want it to, or where you want it to.
All good, you're clear now. Half length back, watch your line.
Oh, a little wide. Oh, managed to save it there. Went wide, and when the weight shifted in the car, once I started to get it to come back, it was just too late, and I was already getting right into the front end of that car behind me. Luckily, it didn't spin me out, especially since we are here on the final lap. That would honestly just be my luck, though. That's exactly what happened to me on the last practice race I ran before starting the video. So I was on the last lap. I made it up to 4th or 5th place, and I was coming out of the last chicane there, started to slide a little bit, and the car behind me was really coming in fast and just barely tagged me from behind, but since I was already losing traction in the rear, it just spun me right around. This car just sounds so good. I can't really explain it, but it's just got such a really nasty, deep sound. It's almost like an American V8 car. It reminds me a lot of the Camaro, actually, in this game. The 69 Sunoco. This thing sounds really, really good under downshifts, too, especially when you get that heel toe just right in it. not a bad race overall. I'm actually fairly happy with that, especially considering the difficulty I have the game set to right now. I've really been trying to push myself a lot harder as I've been getting used to the game here again and been playing it more lately. If you guys have not tried this car and track combination, I highly recommend you give it a shot. As you saw, you can really take a lot of speed here on this track. It doesn't look like a challenging layout, but it is to drive it really fast, especially in a car like this, and push it really fast around here. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thanks for watching. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to hit that like button down below, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.